So the keys to affiliate management. I don't think you guys need too much of an introduction. Jasper Nittel, founder of Social Army, the #1 TikTok Shop creator platform. Um, and then Bora Maluoglu, co-founder of Reacher, and which is the #1 AI platform to automate and scale creator relationships. Um, Now, the real reason that I brought you two specifically together, A, because I know you, and like that's #1. But the other thing is that I feel like in some ways you guys are on opposite sides of like the affiliate industry, if that makes sense. And so to give more context to the viewers, so Reacher is, I mean, I think it's an absolute must-have for any good TikTok shop strategy, but it's used to scale creator communications and like creator relationships, right? So it's used more for like mass outreach, managing thousands of messages across your entire campaign, and really like it's about numbers and reaching out to as many creators as possible. Whereas Social Army, I think is really a little bit more built on like genuine connection and like investing a lot into creator relationships. So it's more about depth rather than breadth, which I think that's kind of what I mean when I say that you guys are on opposite sides of the affiliate industry, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So the questions I want to keep the conversation like super open too, and yeah, Jesper, if you want to
yeah. So
jump.
I think if I can jump in there, the I think the board and I had actually a chat about this, like I think like 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago. I think the main thing that we are opposite on is more on who is our main um, customer, right? So for us, the main customer is the creator, and I think for Bora, the main customer is the brand, of course. And then we switch over, right? Because the brand needs the creator, and the creator needs the brand. So we both work with all kind of sides, but we view it more from the creator level and then go to the brand. And I think Bora views it more from the brand level and then goes to the creator. I think on like how the industry is changing, and I think what we go into in a bit, but the depth and width part of okay, affiliates strategy and everything. I think there we are pretty much aligned on strategy level as well, like what is important and how things operate and how things have been changing. Because we had a chat talk about this a few weeks ago, but we will go into that in a bit. But I think that's important to
Yeah,
understand like what the customer kind of where we're coming from.
yeah, that makes sense. I think. Well, I guess we can get into this. So I guess question one: how do you guys see TikTok Shop affiliate strategies evolving through the rest of 2026?
So I think the biggest thing right now is that depth of relationship, right? So I know Bora is building more on that also on his platform. I think we are doing more and more of that on our side, but like on the creator level as well. But that depth between a brand and a creator is becoming increasingly more important every quarter, every few months. And we've been seeing this over the last year, and I think that will evolve into 2026 as well, where creators are less of okay shotgun, they're still doing it, but shotgun every random product. I just start promoting it, I request 30 samples, I try to keep up with my samples so they don't expire, and that's kind of my strategy as a creator. And on the brand level as well, right? We reach out to 100,000 affiliates, we send out 50,000 samples, and we see where it ends up. Right now we see the depth of relationships going way deeper with retainers, with like real like relationships between brands and creators, like longer term relationships, which I think is very healthy for the industry, because before it was like chaos, go everywhere, spread and try to hit something. Now it's becoming way more okay. Who am I going to invest my time in? Who am I going to work with long term? Which gives us kind of a, I would say, a piece a little bit more to brands, creators, and everybody involved, which I think is nice. It takes different strategies, I think, from agencies, from platforms, from everybody involved, from the brands and from the creator. But I think that's the main thing I see changing, and brands are getting a little bit more understanding of the platform. So that's of course kind of impacting how everything runs as well. Margins I think will get thinner and thinner. So that's something I will also I think is going to be a bigger topic in the next year, like months, as yeah, TikTokers keep updating their kind of policies and things. And I think like 2 weeks ago there was another thing where brands now have to more join certain campaigns and more margins are kind of shrinking. So that will also be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. But yeah, I think that's kind of my main take. I'm not sure, Bora, if you want to add there.
Yeah, I mean, the big problem of the platform is there's not enough good affiliates. And like it's kind of it's I'm not going to say it's mature yet. Like it's still early days, but the early brands that adopted TikTok Shop, a lot of them have kind of cornered the good affiliate market. It's very difficult for a new brand to come in and work with these L3 plus creators, right? That's at least what we're seeing. And a majority of those L3 plus creators are with Jasper and Social Army and things like that, right? So, and like, to Jasper's point, margins are getting thinner. It's becoming more expensive for a brand to cold start, or you have to be very creative with your strategy, very manual. And the thing is, brands that come to us, they still see Reacher as like only a mass outreach platform, and they still think this is 2 years ago, and they still try to do mass outreach and expect results from it, right? I think to Jasper's point, it's really changed a lot. Like you still do need that mass approach to find creators that are even interested in working with you. It's a lot harder. But the problem is brands don't shift their strategy after that initial mass outreach, right? You need to shift your strategy to work with tap and cap communities and companies like Jasper's company, but then also start to build your own creator community internally, which we see a lot of the top brands doing and understanding and building those relationships. I mean, we were just at Fastmoss, we were talking to like Kaylee and some other creators, and you know, they say that they look at their emails, and I'm sure Jasper agrees with this one, or I hope you do at least. But they still look at their emails, but like every single email is an AI generated, or it's like a mass Chinese email that says like "Hello, dear," like blah blah, something random, right? That's probably coming from one of our platforms. But the emails that actually stand out to the creators are the ones that are like different. Like one creator even told me that because a brand swore at him, they were like, "Hey, like f you." He like opened the email, and he ended up working with them, like just because it's like different and it's like personalized. So I really think that personalized touch and like building that relationship with creators is really where brands need to focus on. But there's a lot of problems around that whole idea of like budgeting, of like manpower, of like there's thousands of creators. So um, yeah, working with people like Jasper to kind of manage those relationships, and then for sellers working with people like us to automate a lot of the other stuff like contracts and payments and things like that. I think it's going to become more relevant moving forward.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think like I mean it is interesting because I mean so much of like especially what you guys do, right? It's like breadth and depth, and you need both to really like win. So then it is, and I think a lot of brands they have trouble figuring out like where to put their focus on. Um, but yeah, I mean you guys pretty much nailed it with all that. Let's see. Question two: what's the most important thing for a brand launching right now to focus on? So I'm thinking like, let's say it's a brand they've got a decent product, good product, not a crazy budget, right? But they're looking to launch and scale as like efficiently as possible.
Yeah, I think number one is still for a new brand launching on TikTok Shop. Actually, it doesn't have to be a new brand. It could be an enterprise brand that everybody has household name. But the number one thing is still understanding TikTok Shop. Like, what is a target collaboration? What is an affiliate shoppable video? What is TikTok Shop versus normal TikTok? Like, understanding the fundamentals is still something that people miss. I think they see these like videos on YouTube that just tell them like, "Hey, here's how I made 1 million a month with affiliates on TikTok Shop," and they just go in with that. I think really understanding the platform itself and how it's like evolved, and talking to people or coming to webinars like this and understanding like where the platform's at today before launching on TikTok Shop is really important. And then a lot of like manual work in the beginning as well. I don't actually recommend like trying to automate everything from day one, which is kind of like going against what we do. But to be honest, like the best way to learn something is to just do it, right? You just do it yourself. Like Jasper was not an affiliate before starting Social Army. He was not a TikTok Shop creator, but just by like kind of get diving in and doing the hard work himself, he's like, oh, okay, like now I get it. Now I can like own a freaking TikTok Shop affiliate company, right? And then do all these things. But he did the work first, right? And then he got it. So a lot of these brands try to come in every day and automate everything from day one without understanding what needs to be automated and doing the work first. So I'd say that's probably one of the most important things to focus on from just like a brand perspective.
That makes sense. So I guess one of the things with that, because like I would agree that a lot of brands they just don't understand shop, and so then they'll like mess up on the small things, which then has like massive impact. Like say for example, shop performance score drops. One of the questions I wanted to ask you, Jasper, is like when a brand doesn't really understand shop, like the TikTok Shop ecosystem or like shop performance score, how often does that come up as an issue for like the affiliates that you're working with, where like now they can no longer like tag a product or like that kind of thing.
Yeah. So I would say we have a little bit of a privilege there because of that reason, we only work with brands that have above 5,000 units sold or have a very decent understanding of the platform, right? Because exactly of that reason, like let's say we would work with every different brand, which we would of course love, but not always possible. Then we would run into these issues very often because the brand starts. There's so many variables. I feel like the brand has to understand before they really go to shop. I think there's also still a big gap in the market on like seller education and sellers like really getting them to understand where to go. Because for a seller right now, if you start, there's a million things you have to think about, right? To make sure everything hits so you can sell well. I had one seller that sold like I think like 10,000 units in their first like 2 or 3 months, doing very, very well. And then they got hit with they ran out of stock, and then something went wrong on the logistic part, so they got a lot of like bad review things, where which their shop kind of fully went offline. Then they had to go online again, and all these issues. And then they were selling the last month like 4 or 5 thousand units. They were picking up steam, and then their whole thing got shut down for like a month. Had to redo everything, and now they're starting again, which is again like a slow grind to get everything up and running. So I think it's a very big problem that a lot of sellers face, which can discourage sellers, which can cost a lot of money, especially in the beginning phases. So yeah, for our creators, we haven't seen it that much, of course, in the chat and like, but not with the campaigns we work with, because we kind of are very safe with what type of brands we work with. But for sure, it's a big issue, and especially like again, the same seller I was talking about, he had a lot of good affiliates that were doing very well, but because of all these issues, those affiliates are now not happy to work with them anymore. Not because he did anything wrong or the brand was bad, but just because as an affiliate, you're also hurt if the brand does something wrong, right? If the brand, not even wrong, but if they run out of stock, now you don't earn any commissions. So I feel like it's a whole big kind of ecosystem that you have to think about, and everything has to match. Because if one thing goes wrong, everything else kind of crumbles, and if you want to build it up again, it's almost hard. Not always, but sometimes it's harder to win back trust and everything else than it wasn't the first time. So I would say that is one of the bigger things, actually, especially for a beginning brand to focus on. And also adding to what Bora is saying, I would say in the beginning, make sure you really understand. Yes, you can outsource to an agency. I think that's not a bad thing. But I would say as a brand, really understanding the ecosystem platform. I have seen every brand that really does well, they also really understand TikTok Shop. I haven't seen really a brand doing very well on TikTok without, even if they work with an agency, without really understanding or being like very connected to what is happening on shop. Because you need to put in resources, you need to maybe switch things around brand wise, branding wise, to make sure it fits shop level. So there's a lot of things that go into it.
Yeah, the only thing there that I'll say about brands, I have never seen a brand do well on TikTok Shop without understanding the fundamentals of the platform, except for Korean brands. So like brands in Korea, I think what they're doing is they're sending out 7,000 to 10,000 samples a month. They're still doing spray and pray, but I believe, I'm curious what you guys think about this. I believe because of like the Korean like K-pop, K-beauty, like it's like kind of trending worldwide. I think because of that, they're still doing really well. But it kind of blew my mind that they're just mainly doing mass sampling and still achieving these results. Maybe not like Medicube and Dr. Malaxin, but like everybody else is kind of doing that. So it was pretty interesting to me to see that.
Yeah, but I mean, yes. But however, if they would make a mistake on fulfilling orders, if they would make a mistake on something else, it would still hurt their full shop, right? So I
That's
would say yes, on a product for sure they have a benefit, but you still have to kind of understand the basics so you don't have a shop level issue, which that affects everything
yeah.
else.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, actually, yeah, to your point, that is actually one of the biggest issues I see is oh, I didn't expect to go viral and then I sold out and then now I can't sell and like affiliates are complaining and then they go down to like 2.5 SPS score and then they're kind of stuck in the water there. So that is like a really important thing to be mindful of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also to your guys' points, I mean, like obviously everything there was very valid, and I think too the agency piece, right? Like, because I think of my role, right, as like a TSP agency, it's like some brands will expect me to just do absolutely everything, and that's of course what I try to do because I'm kind of like supposed to be their sort of one-stop shop for everything TikTok. But then it's true, right? Like they need to have some level of competency for what I'm doing to really even work. Because like if they're used to shipping out their orders, a couple, 3 days after they come in, or like not shipping out on weekends or like doing that kind of stuff, then it almost makes everything that we're doing and working on like totally worthless. So I would say understanding that ecosystem, very, very important. Question 3. When developing creator relationships, what do most brands neglect?
Um, so I think there's two levels to this. One is on like, let's say the masses, so let's say 90% of the brands, but more like the bottom 90%, right? So when they're just reaching out and they're just doing their basic stuff, I would say, and I've been saying this for like a year, but I think the biggest thing there is treating affiliates as human beings compared to marketing machines. I would say that's the biggest thing. What you see and what happens very normally, which is I think pretty kind of normal. But you as a brand, you want to go on TikTok, you feel like, hey, this is a marketing channel. How do I get this? Oh, I need affiliates. Okay, I'm gonna just work with affiliates. Let me build a system. Let me make automated messages. Let me do this, and then I'm gonna pay them this or not, or like expect this from them. It almost feels like you're treating them as just like a TikTok account or as a meta ads manager or like just something that can just get you sales. Which of course, as a brand, is very logical to look at it that way. But affiliates are still people, and what I have seen, if you really build those relationships with them on like a personal level, it benefits your brand on like 1,000 different ways. I have to say here that that is very important, but if you don't make your affiliates money, they will leave you regardless. So you can have the most amazing whatever, but if an affiliate posts 10 videos and there's no that make sales, none that make sales, and your product is just not selling on TikTok Shop, the relationships don't make a big difference. So it is always the combination of the two. But this is, I think, the biggest thing that would help a lot of brands build real relationships with those top affiliates you have or with affiliates that are doing well for you. And then, yeah, I would say then you have like the other level, which is one thing for sure that Bora was talking about, which is like mass, like sending out. I think it's being different is a big one there as well. So don't swear to all your affiliates, but I mean, it is a good example of just getting their attention. There's, I don't know, Bora, maybe you know the number, but I don't know how many brands are currently actively reaching out to affiliates, but there's so many. I'm not sure. I think it would be a good exercise to do, but if you would ever go into an affiliate account that is making, let's say, 50K or 100K a month in GMV, and you see their backend, or go into their email and you see their backend, it is scary sometimes how many emails and how many messages they are getting. So you have to indeed stand out in some way. So I think that is another one that's very important. And then this is a little bit of a hard one, but I feel like spending money on affiliates is becoming more and more important, or at least doing really something to keep them close to you is almost a need right now. And that is something that some top brands are like, oh no, I never want to do that. But then the affiliate goes somewhere else because they get the money there. So you still have to compete on money you like pay to creators, especially like about talking about retainers, talking about top creators. It's always smart to do something to keep them close to you, because your competitors will to take them away or to claim them from you. So I would say those things are the most things that get most neglected by the starting brands and also by the top brands.
Yeah, I would say Jasper's probably one of the best suited people in the industry to answer this question. If I had to think of anything else beyond what he said, which everything I agree with, I think, yeah, like spending money is becoming more relevant from the brand side these days on creator relationships, especially if you're cold starting and you have no sales and like you're not a known brand. I still do get a lot of requests from brands on how do I build and maintain a creator relationship without paying them a retainer, without giving them a Lamborghini. Um, which to them, I usually tell them, and I'm curious what y'all think, if you agree or not, or if you have any other ideas. Usually, what I say is I've seen brands that have like a very specific product and they go for a very specific few creators that they know would like love their product, right? They're like making 100K GMV and this brand is brand new, they have no sales, but they are somehow able to find creators that already use their product or like would be the perfect fit, and they just try whatever they can, like manually reach out to them, comment on their videos, get their attention somehow, and then say, hey, like we have this product, we're just starting, we don't have much to give, we want to work with you, something very very like special and endearing. Um, and then because the product is such a good fit with that creator, I have seen actually like really good creators say, okay, like let's do it. Obviously, you're only going to get like very few of those, and it's very very manual. But I think this kind of like adds on to Jasper's point of like doing something extra, doing something special to get that creator attention rather than just like mass outreaching to them, right? And then at least you have a few like maybe even creator ambassadors for your brand. But it always goes back to that like personal touch. Like even on LinkedIn these days or like social media, I'm seeing so many AI posts that are like very obviously generated with ChatGPT, and then you like change two words. And I don't know, like I'll still like it because I'm trying to support everybody in the industry, but I don't know. It's just like when I see a post that I can tell is like obviously written and there's words misspelled, it just like feels a little bit more real to me, like more human. And I think creators are also wanting to experience that, especially like the U.S. is so big, and like there's creators like Kaylee, for example, lives in like farm town USA somewhere like middle of nowhere. Like people are just like lonely and they want to just like talk to somebody and a real human and have that connection, right? So I think that's a really important aspect of this as well.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that special outreach, what you're talking about, is one of the better ways to do it. I think a lot of brands don't go the extra mile. So if you go the extra mile, you already stand out. However, again, like you can get some top affiliates to make the videos, but if that happens, make sure you leverage it. So what I mean there is, if you have these top affiliates making videos for you, make sure they want to keep making videos for you. Maybe put some creator boost, GV max, whatever you can do behind their videos as well, to show other affiliates that these top affiliates that make a lot of GMV are also promoting your product and doing some GMV. If you have one viral video, make sure you share this with all your other affiliates. Like, hey, this creator did this and this and this amount already. It's so amazing. You have to hype creators up a little bit. So I would say, just to add on that, like once you get them, use your momentum to kind of don't lose them again. Because if they make a video or two and they have no sales, and you have 10 other of these creators, they all make no sales, then again, you're back at zero, right?
Well, Jasper, what's a creative way for brands to do that? Like one way is obviously, retainer per video to get them to post 10, 20 videos. But like, is there any other way you think you can get a creator to post 10, 20 videos per sample when they're not being paid a retainer and they're not making money off commission?
If they really like your product. That's the only other way. So that's what you said, like find creators that are really like into your product. I would say 80% of TikTok shop is just, I hate to say it, but it's just like for marketing, right? It's not really like, oh, I really love this product, or oh, like a creator really selling something because they really genuinely enjoy it. Which I kind of sometimes I'm a little bit like, oh, well, I would love for the space to be a little bit more like that. But I think if you find these creators, let's say you have a very specific product, whatever it is, right? Supplement, home thing, whatever that helps people. If you find the perfect audience for it and they really like your product, they would go way more than the extra mile. But those people are hard to find, and you have to really do the manual work to kind of find them.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, like where this comes like down to, because Jasper, like what you're saying, like when a creator's like really really passionate, and I've seen this, right, where it's like we'll be running a campaign, but then like a creator just genuinely loves the product. That's always what performs best, because they're like, oh, like they genuinely believe in it, and like you can't really fake that. I mean, I guess like some creators can, but like it's much easier to have it be genuine and real. It's also one of the reasons why like um one of like the brands that I look for to work with are all like super mission driven. Like I'm talking to a brand right now where they're working with a nonprofit, so then any sale that they generate has like a tangible result for like a nonprofit, which I think is really cool as well. So then it's like just something to like motivate people to like outside of just cash as well. um yeah, that was good stuff. Question number 4. When running a creator outreach campaign using Reacher, this is a Bora question. What do most brands neglect? I like when I was working with you, Bora, and then I would like we'd be going in seeing people's accounts and stuff. And I'd be like, dang, like they're not even using the platform. Like they're using a fraction of the way that they could. And so like when you're seeing that and like some clients complaining to you about like, oh, I can't get any results, and then you look at their account, like what is it that you're seeing that they're not doing that they should be doing?
Yeah, as you said, there's a lot. some people don't do anything. They sign up and they just don't do anything. So we've implemented some like, some triggers now. If someone signs up for Reacher and they're not even using the platform, which happens sometimes, we'll reach out to them and be like, hey, here's your product. Here's what we recommend. Like the filters we recommend, the outreach template message we recommend. I think the best way to, I won't talk about what they neglect because there's like so many individual cases, but I'll talk about like the best practices for a creator outreach campaign, which is really like understanding your own product and then using our AI creator search functionality to find lists of creators, or like using like Fast Monster Cal data if you want, or you can get like a list from your TikTok shop AM, and that's like made for your shop and your products. But let's say like using our AI creator search, searching for creators that would be like a really good fit. Let's say you have like a coffee product, right? Like, oh, like typing in creators who love coffee, or like I love coffee into our AI search, and then coming up with all these creators that are like, oh, coffee lover, like can't start my day without my coffee, blah blah blah. Getting that list so you know that they're like a pretty good fit for your product, chucking it into the outreach campaign, and then for that specific list, having like a very specific message. Like most brands will send like a very very like templatized message that's the same thing for every single like list of creator that they have. I think for this case, you could say like, hey, notice you love coffee, right? Because it's a coffee list. Notice you love coffee. We're a coffee brand. We think we'd be a great fit for you. Something like very normal, not talking about the commission, not talking about like all the crazy benefits you have. First, you can talk about that after. But really, just like appealing to their coffee loving side, and then having that kind of like more personalized outreach message to that list is usually what I see work really really well.
That makes sense. Um, yeah, personalized copy to a specific list. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I mean that works really well. Which is basically what Jasper and I were talking about earlier. It's like finding the creator's profile that is the best fit for your brand if you're cold starting. This is just like that at scale, right? Like you can reach out to 3,000, 4,000 creators with that. Another thing that we're working on that we're releasing soon is a way to actually have AI look at the profile for you and then update the message for each individual creator. Um, that obviously like it's going to be a little more AI, but we're going to test it out and see how it works. We presume it's going to work decently well because it's going to be personalized per creator, which no one else is doing. So that I think would also work really well because it's essentially what Jasper and I were talking about earlier, but you're doing it at scale, right? So obviously we all know that like AI text generation is not perfect and it's kind of easy to tell that's AI, but as we make improvements and as we prompt it differently, we're hoping we can come to something that sounds pretty humanistic and real.
That's pretty exciting. I'm excited to try that feature. That'll be good. Question number 5. So this is actually I'm low key. This is kind of a selfish question because I've been working, tinkering around, trying to get my own creator community to help like the brands that I'm working with. And so, what better person to ask other than Jasper for what's the most important? And also, I'm sure there's lots of brands watching that want to build a creator community. So, like, what's the most important thing for if you're trying to build up a creator community to really focus on right now?
So it's gonna sound a bit weird, and I have to give some context around it. But building a creator community, just to build a creator community, doesn't make a lot of sense in this current space. Why do I say this? Because when we started, and I had a meeting with Creators Corner. I'm not sure if everybody knows them, but like last week or the week before, and I was talking about them with them about this, which is when we started, and then we were one, Creators Corner is one, and there's like two or three other big ones in the beginning that were starting out, and we were moving to Discord, right? Nobody was on Discord, and we had to teach everyone how to use Discord, how does it work, all the, and especially like of course the group of a little bit older people. It's a gaming platform on itself, right? And now everybody switched over to Discord. Now like the almost full TikTok shop is on Discord. So what happened there is that in the beginning it was nice, and we sent out an announcement, everybody sees it, we get so much engagement, everybody hears about it. What happened in the last like 1.5 years, and I already started talking about this a year ago, but there's too much noise. So creators, they join, They join. Okay, they get an invite from a brand because they have to join for a campaign or whatever. They join. Then there's another free community that launches. Oh, they join this one as well. And now I would say I think the average creator is maybe in like 10, 20, and it's on the low side, like different communities, right? They get notifications every, I don't know, few minutes, every hour, every, like so many notifications that eventually you kind of get immune for it. So what we have noticed a lot in our community as well is that the open rate or kind of conversion rate on announcements in Discord went down by like 70%. And I've heard this multiple times in the whole space. It's just because there's so much that every creator gets so many notifications. They also don't know how to turn off half of it and how it all works. So it just becomes noise. And I feel like every creator community kind of does the same thing. Um, they all want to try to teach a little bit, and then they all try to give opportunities, which creators are bombarded from every different direction. Like all the whole TikTok DM, email, everything we just talked about is full of it. So I think there's an opportunity for sure, but it has to be, again, it has to be different. It has to be something that is not the same as the rest, because there is enough of that. Um, what we now did, for example, is we launched a platform, right? So we have had a lot of discussions also with Bora knows this way better as well, but like we focus on creator attention. Like how do we get the attention of the creator by giving them things, and then we can also match make for them and do a lot of things with them. And now we figured out, okay, like the creator attention is maybe a little bit less in like community level because there's too much of it, and education because there's so much everywhere. Like yes, we do it. Yes, there's a lot of new people still joining, but way less than in the beginning. And we focus more on tooling and other things to help the creators and kind of have them close to us. So that is the way how I would think about it. It depends a lot on what you want to achieve. So do you want to achieve masses? Different than do you want to achieve like a very small group of very high quality affiliates for a certain niche? I would say there is for sure an opportunity for niche communities. That's still an opportunity that's open. I think that is something that hasn't been really done that well. So that is an opportunity. I think for brand communities, it's it's very hard because how are you as a brand going to be different than all the other brands that have a community? I think it's a hard one. I think it's still possible. I think how I view Embora, maybe you know this as well, because you have been sending I think a lot of affiliates to these communities by your automations as well. But I think a lot of affiliates now join these communities just for more asking questions. And oh, there's a quick like kind of being in contact with somebody from the brand. It's an easy way of communication, but it's not really a community how I would see a community. So I know it's a very long talk, but it is something that I cannot give a very clear answer on. Like, hey, what do you need to do? I would say the main thing is be different. Think from the creator level. How are you going to be different than the other 20, 30 communities they're in? How are you going to be different than the other 50 notifications they get every day to make sure you stand out? Because otherwise you put so much time into it, but then maybe it's better to put it somewhere else, right? So that's kind of my way of thinking. And for more agencies or like building real community or like community for like multiple brands, brand community, I would niche down a lot. So try to be special in that way. Because if you have like a fashion or like a different type of niche, it becomes something that creators are, oh, this is only focused on this. Okay, maybe that's interesting. Um, but yeah, that's my long rant on
So
communities.
Jasper, you don't think that like an agency that serves, let's say, like, health, fashion, beauty, and food and beverage should have one big community for all their creators? Like, you think it would be difficult to maintain loyalty, or?
I think those creators are in 20 different communities. So I think, yes, this can be possible, but then you have to be very clear, like, what is your USP? What is your, like, special thing that makes your community different than the rest? If it is, okay, you can get a lot of very, very good deals with the brands we work with, and the brands we work with are very good, and these deals are there very often. Yes, that's something that's puts you a part of something else. But if you're just gonna be updating about those brands and just trying to kind of, oh, we have a new campaign, here's this. I think affiliates are just kind of numb for that by now because there's just so much different things in their inbox. So I think it's all about inbox and kind of being different. I think if you have a very good community, it can still work, but you have to have something different than like the other 20 communities that are out there.
How about like, sorry, Tommy, I'm just actually curious. I think over, but how about like all these other countries like TikTok Shop? Like we're looking at the whole EU, like EU5. There's like UK, like Brazil, Mexico is coming out or is out already.
Yeah.
Japan is just starting. Like, what do you think about agencies, I suppose, more so than brands, building communities for all these other regions? And are you guys doing that as well?
So for us, we went to Mexico. We didn't proceed there just because, or we're kind of still there, but it's not really like full proceeding, just because the market on the affiliate level is a little bit different. And building a community like big like we did it here, we felt like it's just a different creator market, and then our efforts put on the US is just worth way more. I would say yes. Like if you're the first one, 100%. If you're the second one, 100%. We're sure early, but know that there will be people that will come that will put a lot of energy and effort into it. So you have to keep innovating and have to be better than the rest. Because one says one is better than you, creators will go there. Creators follow the opportunity, the money, and if you're not giving them the most opportunity, resources, money, they will just go to the other person. Real loyalty is, yeah, either human connection, which is impossible to do at a big scale. Like how we build human connection is we have coaches that are affiliates themselves, which build a lot of human connection, and then we literally like did multiple trips with our coaches to keep or to have that human connection, right? So yeah, but on your question, bro, I would say yes. On different countries, it's possible. It's just like in US, there's so much competition, so it's still possible, but you have to do something different.
That was a really really good answer. Like, I'm gonna chew on that for a while.
If you have any questions on it, let me know. I think yeah, there is ways, but you just have to find a little like different way
Yeah.
than
Well, so because like for me, like because I'm thinking about this community, and I'm making it all about like helping the creator like make their dreams come true, which I think
yeah,
maybe like now that I'm saying it, almost sounds like very generic. And of course, like I've got brands coming in, and so it's like, oh, we can hook you up with like different brand deals.
yeah,
Um, and I think to like almost going back to like this idea of like mission, like the unique thing that I want my community to be rooted in is like, okay, we're working with like mission driven brands. And so like if you want to work with a brand that is like mission driven, you want to have like a serious impact, that's almost like the USP. Um,
yeah.
but
No, I mean like there's many ways that you can approach it, and it could still work. But you just have to really like always keep thinking from the creators level. Okay, how does this come over? How do they find me? Like if these top creators are already like, I would say starting creators is always easier because they are not really being seen a lot. And
mhm.
if you make them seen and then they grow and then they grow with you, that's a big opportunity always. I mean, that's also how we started, right? We got all of our creators, all of our coaches. They started with us with nothing, and then they grew, and then they became a coach because they were growing quickly. Um, so that's an opportunity. But if you want to take the big ones, it has to be something that kind of sets you apart from the rest.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, I think this is the last one. Yeah. So last question. This is the fun question or whatever, and I wonder if you guys have anything on this, but like U.S. TikTok changing ownership. Do you guys like? How do you think that will change shop or TikTok in general? Like, if
So
Uh, yeah,
you want to go first, Jasper?
you can go. You just had a meeting with the leadership, so maybe your insights.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. Yeah, it. So from a leadership and TikTok, as a company standpoint, doesn't seem like they're really changing anything. They're actually becoming more. They're becoming like they have harder to hit goals, and they're like pushing even harder. I think maybe they're focusing a lot as a company on other countries as well. Like U.S. is obviously the biggest market, other than China, but um, like it seems like they're really going and opening up other regions. Like there's gonna be a lot more regions coming for sure. But that's my opinion. No one's told me that as a fact. It's just from what I've seen. And then for TikTok US, other than the outage for the last 3 days or 4 days or whatever, I think that's probably just a refactoring of the company on the back end. Things being like moved around. Probably not much is gonna change. I think, based off conversations I've had here and talking to the team, the TikTok team, and like kind of seeing the TikTok internal vibe. Maybe it's just going to be the data privacy and those kinds of things are going to become more loose because obviously with more U.S. ownership, I think some potential political issues that were of concern prior are maybe being a little bit remediated through a U.S. ownership. I think that's kind of like the point of this TikTok deal, anyways. So because it's a majority U.S. owned company after this deal, I think actually it'll become easier for the U.S. companies like ourselves to operate with TikTok and for TikTok to operate within the U.S. So it's probably in the long run good for the company. I don't see much changing. Like I don't think there's anything to be worried about from a user or a business standpoint doing business with TikTok US from what I've seen. But of course, like these are all my opinions, and there's nothing been said and set in stone to us. So there's only you can only extrapolate, right?
Yeah. I mean, few thoughts from my side. I would say first one is what Bora is saying. I agree. The playing field becomes a little bit more less chaotic, right? Where the last year, I'm very proud of everybody that kind of stayed put and kept going, but it was of course crazy. As I think every business, every 3 months, you had to kind of it could be gone any second. You don't know. Where I think all of us kind of stayed calm, but it's still on the business level. It's hard to do business that way. We had an event planned, like big event, and we put a lot of money into 2 weeks after a potential TikTok ban. Let's say it would have been banned. What do you do with an event that you put like close to 100K and like yeah, what can you do? So I don't know. I think that is something that is good for everybody for sure. I think the I'm a little bit scared for one thing, and that is just the profitability side of it, where of let's say the Chinese side was really focused on pushing it out there, seeing 5 years, 10 years in the future. Still, of course, wanting to make money, and yeah, they put a lot of money into it. But I hope with now the leadership changing and business equity changing, that they are not shifting that goal to needing to make more profits short term. Of course, there's every year they're switching something because it needs to be a sustainable business. I fully understand that, but I don't hope they're gonna try to squeeze out everyone like even more, because that's not gonna work. Like you see it now with the brands. I think you're now kind of at the limit, literally, with the creators as well. You cannot go way further because creators, okay, shop ad commissions, everything is going lower, it's going lower. That's fine. If now also AI comes in and they are getting way more competition from all the different sites, eventually you just lose more and more affiliates. I don't think there's a lot of more affiliates coming to the platform now. And what Bora was saying in the beginning, like there's not enough good affiliates. And I think if you're gonna try to squeeze out everything, eventually you will lose brands, lose affiliates. So I think that is the biggest thing I hope doesn't change. Of course, we will see. Um, but I think in general, up till now, I think it's indeed a good thing, net positive because of the last year. Like there was so much chaos. Now it's way more okay. Big brands can come. I know like TikTok has also big goals now with getting more big brands on the platform and everything else. So yeah, I mean the next year I think will be very positive for everybody, since there's going to be more money from the outside world being put into TikTok Shop. Um, More security for big brands to also put money in. But yeah, we have to see how it kind of how they move the ecosystem around. I've heard that operational control stays with ByteDance and everything, which I think is very important. But I'm not sure if ByteDance wants to give all their strategies, everything like fully to the max like it did before, because now they don't have all the, let's say, um, impact and control of it. So yeah, it will be a very interesting time to monitor. I think it will play out well, but we have to see. And I'm especially interested to see the differences between other markets in the US, if there will be like a big difference or if it will kind of all stay the same. I think it will be a very interesting thing to kind of keep an eye on. But yeah, I think for now, a positive change.
Yeah, I think it'll be good for business. I mean, like it's interesting, Jasper, because you keep hitting on like the profitability piece of it, where it's like TikTok is already such an expensive platform to launch on because there's like affiliate commissions and ads and like everything, and I could see that being an issue, especially too, um, sort of like what you were saying, where last year at this time it was like everything was up in the air, like TikTok might be banned, like whatever, and like we all stayed through it, which was good. But then it was like now that it's not being banned, I have a feeling that this year we're going to see a flood of brands moving in. So then it's like way more competition for affiliates. Um, so it'll definitely be an interesting year.
Yeah, I mean, a year and 2 weeks ago, TikTok was banned, right, for a day. So I think we all remember that one. That was an interesting one. But yeah, I think it will be fine eventually because it has to kind of flatten out. And if there eventually we'll see, okay, maybe there's not enough money anymore, so something has to change. There will always be a balance. I think that will be found. But yeah, we just have to see where that balance is. And I think still for a lot of brands, and we see it still with the top brands, as long as you treat TikTok as more of a top of funnel, yes, revenue, but also to really get all the eyeballs and everything, I still think it's a very profitable platform for brands like fully. But I think if you only run TikTok Shop and you only want to go there, you really want to compete with the big brands on the platform, it's gonna be very, very hard because all those big brands don't really run for profit on TikTok. They really run for eyeballs and views and try to break even on TikTok. So I think that is something that most brands have to understand. But if you do that well, you play that game well, you have a good agency, and you work together with the right partners, and you can have a very, very big benefit from being big on TikTok. So I don't want it to be let's say demotivating for people, but it's just a good piece of advice or piece of information to kind of keep with you as a brand if you start on TikTok.
Yeah, to that point, profitability wise, yeah, sure, TikTok Shop, it's hard to be profitable on TikTok Shop, specifically for any business really. But we just are releasing an updated Halo Effect tracker, which is tracking Halo Effect to Amazon, Shopify, and we're working on a retail Halo Effect tracker as well. That's going to be very difficult to do, but we're working on it. Really, what we see, as Jasper just said, top enterprise brands are seeing TikTok Shop as a user acquisition or customer acquisition funnel, especially Gen Z customer acquisition, and maybe even starting Gen Alpha, because especially these enterprise brands, like we were just talking to a few enterprise brands in China, and we talked to some that come through the pipeline every once in a while. Their main thing is like, I understand it's hard to be profitable on TikTok Shop. Profit is my on TikTok Shop is my second goal. My first goal is how can I acquire Gen Z to use our product? Like they're an old 100-year-old brand, 200-year-old brand. They're like, yeah, we're not a sexy brand. Like we don't understand how to acquire these like younger people, but we do know that a lot of them are on TikTok. So that's why they want to do TikTok Shop. So they break even on TikTok Shop, and then they get that user on TikTok Shop, maybe one purchase, two purchases, and then their goal, which TikTok doesn't like, and TikTok is working to solve this problem of people buying once on TikTok and then going to Amazon and going to Shopify D2C, right? But for the brand side, it's great because we're seeing like lift across all channels of their business, the e-commerce and retail of 5x to 10x from viral videos on TikTok Shop, right? So it is really top of funnel customer acquisition and then kind of marketing for all the other channels, right? So definitely agree with Jasper there.
Nice. Yeah. Let me so I guess we're kind of wrapping up here. I noticed on this meeting link, Bora, that you shared. I'm going to throw this in the chat for anyone who wants to book a meeting with Reacher. And you finally, it's Sohan's link, so you're no longer taking the all the calls.
Not all of them, but still, it's still a lot. Too many, still too many.
I believe it. And then Jasper, did you have an offer that you wanted to share with anyone?
No, I don't think it's an offer. I think like yeah, if you want to reach out to our what we can, or you want to kind of see what we can do for the brand or agency or whatever you are, there's a link always in my bio on LinkedIn, so you can just find that. I mean, for us, we always try to find a way to work together. If it is with us or if we send you to another partner, we don't try to just always close every deal. We really want to make sure that a deal we close like works out for both sides. So yeah, talking like we can always talk. We can see if it makes sense. We heavily focus now on those deeper creator relationships, and we have a new platform that we launched for creators, which is SoCo, where also brands can do awareness campaigns and can get in front of more affiliates. So those are the two things. But yeah, you can also book a meeting and see if any of that makes sense for you.
Nice, good stuff. And then I got 3 accounts from 0 to 5-figure months. My first 100K month case study coming soon. Similar type of selling with Jasper. Like I genuinely just enjoy helping people. If it's not the right fit, I will tell you, which is usually how most of my sales calls go. So yeah, this was a great call. Thank you both so much for being on here. Really appreciate it.